5 rules change your life in 7 days. Ladies and gentlemen, let me tell you something today. Your life doesn't have to stay the way it is. You don't have to wait months, years, or decades for transformation. In just 7 days, if you commit yourself, everything about your mindset, your choices, and your direction can shift. All it takes are 5 rules. Let's walk through them. Rule 5-1, decide who's in charge. The first rule is simple. Stop letting your feelings, your circumstances, or your critics run your life. You've got to make a decision about who holds the steering wheel. If you don't take control, life will. And if you keep handing control to fear, excuses, or negativity, don't be surprised when you keep ending up at the wrong destination. Decide today, no more. Rule 5-2, discipline. Your mind, your life will never rise higher than your thoughts. You cannot live in defeat if you think victory. You cannot live in peace if you think chaos. Start training your mind like an athlete trains his body. Feed it truth, cut off the lies, focus on what builds, not what breaks. For the next 7 days, refuse to let toxic thoughts sit rent-free in your head. Rule 3, develop daily habits of strength. Your future is hidden in your daily routine. If you want a different life, change what you do daily. Wake up earlier. Speak encouragement instead of complaints. Move your body. Read something that grows you. Pray, meditate. Write your vision. Do it every day, not just when you feel like it. Discipline today is destiny tomorrow. Rule 4, detach from distractions. You can't change your life if you're chained to everything that steals your time. Social media, gossip, toxic people, endless comparison. Cut it off. If it doesn't feed your faith, your focus, or your future, it's a distraction. For the next 7 days, unplug from what drains you and plug into what develops you. Rule 5, dedicate yourself to serving others. The fastest way to elevate your life is to lift someone else. When you encourage, when you give, when you serve, you unlock joy, you create meaning, you step into purpose. Stop asking, what can I get? And start asking, what can I give? When you bless others, blessings will chase you down. So here's the challenge for 7 days. Live these 5 rules. Decide who's in charge. Discipline your mind. Develop daily habits. Detach from distractions. Dedicate yourself to serving others. And watch what happens. In 7 days, you won't just feel different, you'll be different. You'll have momentum. You'll have clarity. You'll have power. Change doesn't take forever. It just takes a decision and 7 days of commitment. Decide who's in charge. That's the starting point of transformation, because until you settle that question, everything else in your life will remain unsettled. Too many people are being driven by their feelings, their circumstances, or the opinions of others, and they don't even realize it. They wake up in the morning already defeated because they've surrendered control before the day has even started. When you let anger drive, when you let fear sit behind the wheel, when you let insecurity chart the course, you will always end up in places you never wanted to go. Life is not meant to be lived tossed back and forth like a leaf in the wind. There comes a point when you must draw a line in the sand and decide that you will no longer live reactive, but proactive. That you will no longer let outside forces dictate your inside choices. You have to decide who's in charge. When you get into a car, you know who the driver is. The one behind the wheel determines direction, speed, and destination. If you're not behind the wheel of your own life, someone or something else is. And if that something is your emotions, then you're on a road of constant detours. Feelings are real, but they were never designed to be your master. They make a terrible driver because they change with the weather. One day they push you forward. The next day they paralyze you. If you let feelings run your life, you will never experience stability, only constant chaos. Circumstances are another unworthy driver. If you allow your situation to control your decisions, then your life will rise and fall with every crisis. Circumstances change daily, sometimes hourly. If you say, I'll have peace when things settle down, you will never have peace because life will never give you that kind of calm. You cannot wait on everything outside of you to align before you take responsibility for the direction inside of you. If storms are blowing, anchor yourself. If setbacks come, refuse to let them dictate your forward movement. Circumstances don't get to be in charge unless you hand them the keys. Then there are the opinions of others. People will always have something to say about what you do, how you do it, and even why you do it. If you let them, they'll run your life while you sit silently in the passenger seat. You'll find yourself living to please, living to compare, living to prove, and yet never living fulfilled. The problem with letting other people drive is that they don't have to live with the consequences of the choices they push you into. You do. They walk away, but you stay stuck. You've got to take back the keys from every outside voice that tries to determine your worth and direction. Deciding who's in charge means establishing authority in your own life. It means choosing to align your decisions not with instability, not with chaos, but with clarity and conviction. It's saying, I will not let fear run my life. I will not let anger dominate my choices. I will not let doubt dictate my destiny. It's refusing to surrender to things that were never meant to control you. This is not about ignoring your emotions, but about putting them in the right place. Emotions are passengers, they are not drivers. They can ride, but they cannot steer. This decision requires courage because when you step into authority over your life, you can't make excuses anymore. You can't say, they made me do it. You can't say, the situation forced me. You can't say, I didn't have a choice. Once you decide who's in charge, you accept responsibility. You may not control what happens to you, but you control how you respond. You may not choose the storm, but you choose your stance in the storm. Responsibility may feel heavy, but it is also the key to freedom, because as long as you believe others are in control, you remain powerless. There's a reason many never reach their destiny. They never make this decision. They bounce from one influence to another, from one emotion to another, from one person's opinion to another, and wonder why their lives feel unstable. You cannot build a strong house on a shaky foundation, and you cannot build a strong life without deciding who's in charge. That decision is the foundation. Once it's made, everything else begins to align. Your time aligns because you stop giving it away to distractions. Your priorities align because you start living from conviction instead of convenience. Your energy aligns because you stop wasting it on battles that don't matter. Your future aligns because you start steering toward purpose instead of drifting aimlessly. Decide who's in charge, and everything else flows from there. Until you settle that, nothing else can be settled. Discipline your mind. Nothing will change in your life until you learn how to manage the battlefield of your thoughts. Every action you take begins as a thought. Every habit you form begins as a thought. Every limitation you live under begins as a thought. If your mind is undisciplined, your life will always reflect that disorder. But when your mind is trained, focused, and directed, your life follows the order you create. The mind is the control center, and what you allow to dwell there will eventually dominate everything you do. Too many people live as prisoners of their own thinking. They replay old failures over and over until those failures become their identity. They magnify their fears until fear becomes larger than faith. They allow doubt to sit at the table until doubt eats away every ounce of confidence. If your mind is filled with clutter, you will live in confusion. If your mind is filled with negativity, you will live in defeat. If your mind is filled with lies, you will live far beneath the truth of who you were created to be. The battle is not out there, it begins in here. Until you take authority over your mind, you will keep circling the same mountains and fighting the same battles. Discipline means training. Just as an athlete doesn't become strong by accident, but through intentional practice, your mind will not become disciplined without deliberate effort. You must decide what you feed it, what you expose it to, what you allow to enter and remain. Every day you are bombarded with messages, media, conversations, environments that are either strengthening you or weakening you. If you do not guard your mind, it will be shaped by whatever shouts the loudest. That is why you must set boundaries. If it pollutes your thinking, you shut it off. If it pulls you down, you walk away. If it distracts you from purpose, you cut the cord. What you tolerate in your thoughts will eventually dominate your reality. Training your mind begins with replacing lies with truth. Lies say you are not enough, you are not worthy, you will never make it. Truth says you are equipped, you are valuable, you have what it takes to step into your destiny. Lies say your past disqualifies you. Truth says your past prepares you. Lies say your situation is permanent. Truth says seasons change. Every time a lie shows up, you confront it with truth until the truth takes root and becomes your default response. Discipline is not a one-time effort, it is a daily decision. Your focus determines your future. Where your attention goes, your energy flows. If you focus on problems, your life will feel like a collection of problems. If you focus on possibilities, your life will expand with opportunities. Focus is like a magnifying glass. Whatever you hold it over grows bigger in your sight. That is why undisciplined thinking is so dangerous, because it exaggerates the wrong things. A small obstacle can look like a mountain when your mind is fixed on it. But with disciplined thinking, you learn how to put challenges in perspective and shift your attention to solutions. Another layer of discipline is learning to quiet your mind. An undisciplined mind runs wild, racing from one thought to another, never settling, never resting. It is restless, anxious, and scattered. But a disciplined mind knows how to slow down, how to focus on the present moment, how to silence the noise. This is not about ignoring reality, but about refusing to let chaos run unchecked inside of you. Stillness is a form of strength, and it comes from training your thoughts not to wander aimlessly, but to anchor in clarity. Every champion understands this truth. The body follows the mind. Athletes don't just train muscles, they train focus. Leaders don't just make decisions, they train perspective. Overcomers don't just escape obstacles, they train their thoughts to see beyond the obstacle. When your mind is disciplined, fear cannot dictate, doubt cannot paralyze, negativity cannot linger. Discipline gives you the ability to think clearly, choose wisely, and act boldly. Discipline also requires consistency. One moment of focused thinking is not enough. One day of clarity will not carry you through a lifetime. You must keep showing up, keep practicing, keep redirecting your thoughts every time they try to wander off course. Just like building strength takes repetition, so does building mental discipline. At first it feels difficult, but over time it becomes natural. What once took all your energy becomes your automatic response. Discipline your mind, because the mind left unchecked will always drift toward the lowest level. It will drift toward fear, toward doubt, toward negativity. But when you train it, when you feed it, when you guard it, your life begins to rise to a higher level. Everything you want to change on the outside begins with what you master on the inside. Develop daily habits. The direction of your life is not determined by the big decisions you make once or twice a year. It is determined by the small choices you repeat every single day. What you do consistently will always outweigh what you do occasionally. People often wait for a breakthrough moment, some huge opportunity that changes everything overnight. But the truth is, transformation hides in repetition. Success, discipline, growth, peace, purpose, all of it is wrapped up in your routine. If you want to change your life, you don't need to wait for the perfect time. You need to start shaping your days, because your days are shaping you. Habits are powerful because they run automatically. You don't have to think about them. Once they're formed, they just flow. The problem is that many people have allowed destructive habits to become automatic. Complaining has become a habit. Procrastination has become a habit. Comparing themselves to others has become a habit. Reaching for distractions when they feel uncomfortable has become a habit. These small choices don't seem dangerous in the moment, but repeated daily, they carve deep grooves into a person's life. Before long, they are stuck in cycles that they didn't even realize they were creating. If you don't intentionally build habits that serve your future, you will unconsciously repeat habits that sabotage it. Developing daily habits begins with awareness. You have to pay attention to what you are doing with your time, your energy, and your focus. Ask yourself, what patterns am I repeating without thinking? Are these patterns pushing me closer to who I want to become or pulling me further away? Until you identify what is shaping you, you cannot redirect it. Once you see clearly, you can begin to replace what is harmful with what is helpful. You can replace the habit of complaining with the habit of gratitude. You can replace the habit of distraction with the habit of focus. You can replace the habit of comparison with the habit of celebrating your own growth. Small shifts, practiced daily, create massive change over time. Daily habits are not about perfection, they are about direction. If you wait until you feel motivated every day, you will wait forever. Motivation is a spark, but habit is fuel. You may not always feel like getting up early, speaking positively, exercising, or reading something that stretches your mind. But when it becomes a habit, it no longer depends on how you feel. It becomes a rhythm. Habits carry you when emotions fail you. That's why the most successful people are not the most emotional, they are the most consistent. Your habits are also signals to your future. What you do today announces what you will become tomorrow. If you spend your mornings scrolling endlessly, you are signaling that distraction will dominate your future. If you invest those same mornings in reflection, planning, prayer, or preparation, you are signaling that your future will be built on clarity and strength. Every action is a seed, and your daily habits are planting fields that you will one day harvest. What you reap depends on what you repeat. It's also important to understand that habits stack. One good habit will often lead to another. If you start the day by making your bed, it creates a sense of order that can influence your next decision. If you choose a healthy meal, it can motivate you to exercise. If you spend 10 minutes reading something uplifting, it may encourage you to speak more positively throughout the day. Habits are contagious within your own life. On the other hand, negative habits also stack. Hitting snooze repeatedly can lead to rushing. Rushing can lead to stress. Stress can lead to snapping at others. Snapping at others can lead to regret. That's why starting your day with intentional habits is critical. The way you begin often sets the tone for everything that follows. Daily habits also create identity. The more you do something, the more it becomes who you are. If you write every day, you will eventually see yourself as a writer. If you exercise every day, you will see yourself as someone who takes health seriously. If you encourage others every day, you will see yourself as a source of strength. Identity grows from repetition. Many people fail because they try to change identity without changing daily actions. You cannot call yourself disciplined if your daily actions are inconsistent. You cannot call yourself focused if your daily actions are scattered. When your habits align with the identity you want, transformation is inevitable. The truth is, your future is not hidden in what you dream about, but in what you repeat. Dreams inspire, but habits produce. Every great achievement in history is simply the result of small actions repeated over and over until they compounded into something powerful. The same principle applies in your life. If you commit to developing daily habits that reflect discipline, focus, growth, and purpose, The person you become tomorrow will thank the person you chose to be today. Detach from distractions. Nothing robs people of progress faster than the subtle thieves that consume time, energy, and focus while giving nothing back in return. Distractions are not always obvious. Sometimes they disguise themselves as harmless entertainment, as minor conversations, as temporary indulgences. But over time, they drain the strength you could have invested in growth, in purpose, in building something that lasts. Distractions are not just external, they are also internal. Thoughts that wander into worry, emotions that spiral into negativity, doubts that replay like broken records. These are distractions of the mind that keep you from walking forward with clarity. The more you allow them to linger, the more they multiply, and soon they shape the atmosphere of your life. Detaching from distractions requires ruthless honesty. You cannot overcome what you refuse to identify. Ask yourself, what steals my attention daily without giving me anything valuable in return? It may be hours scrolling through a screen, conversations that always circle gossip and drama, environments that drown you in noise, or even habits that seem small but continually delay your progress. Until you name them, you cannot resist them. Until you admit their power, you cannot take your power back. Many people excuse their distractions as relaxation, as social connection, as harmless habits. But what seems harmless in the moment can cost years if left unchecked. Distractions are dangerous because they don't always feel destructive. They offer short-term relief, a quick escape, a moment of entertainment, but they rob you of long-term strength. Every minute spent feeding them is a minute not invested in growth. Every ounce of energy wasted on them is energy you no longer have for what truly matters. When you multiply those minutes and that energy over weeks, months, and years, you realize how costly distractions truly are. They don't announce their price up front. They collect it silently until you look back and wonder where the time went, where the opportunities went, where your focus went. Detachment is a choice. It means creating distance between yourself and the things that pull you off course. It means drawing boundaries that protect your focus and refusing to apologize for them. People may not understand when you step away from constant social media, when you decline empty invitations, when you choose solitude over noise. But you are not living for their understanding, you are living for your purpose. Detachment is not isolation, it is prioritization. It is refusing to let everything and everyone have access to your most valuable resource, your attention. Attention is the currency of your destiny. Whatever you give attention to grows stronger. If you feed distractions, they will expand and take over. If you feed discipline, it will grow and strengthen. You cannot afford to waste your attention on things that subtract rather than add. That is why detaching from distractions is not about losing something. It is about gaining clarity, energy, and direction. It is about creating space for the things that matter most. The challenge is that distractions often present themselves as easier than discipline. It is easier to pick up your phone than to sit in silence. It is easier to complain than to create solutions. It is easier to gossip than to encourage. It is easier to scroll endlessly than to study, to plan, to prepare. Ease is seductive, but ease is expensive. What is easy now often becomes regret later. What is difficult now often becomes strength later. The ability to detach is the ability to choose future reward over present escape. Internal distractions are just as dangerous as external ones. Thoughts that constantly replay what could go wrong, memories of past failures, voices of doubt whispering that you are not enough. These are distractions of the heart and mind. They may not come from a screen or a person, but they can consume even more time and energy. Detachment here requires discipline of thought. It means learning to recognize when your mind drifts into fear and redirecting it toward faith. It means noticing when you start rehearsing negativity and replacing it with words that build. It means refusing to let mental clutter take residence in a space meant for clarity and creativity. Detachment also requires courage because distractions often become comfortable. They become habits we lean on, environments we grow used to, people we've always entertained. Walking away from them feels unfamiliar, even unsettling. But comfort is not the same as progress. Many stay bound to distractions because they fear the silence that comes when the noise is gone. But it is in that silence that focus is born. When the distractions are stripped away, you begin to hear the deeper call, the stronger vision, the direction that was always there but drowned out by the noise. Detaching from distractions is about reclaiming ownership of your life. It is declaring that your time is too valuable, your energy is too important, your purpose is too significant to be wasted. It is refusing to live reactive, constantly pulled by whatever demands your attention, and choosing instead to live intentional, guided by conviction and vision. Dedicate yourself to serving others. There is a principle woven into the very fabric of life. The more you give, the more you grow. The world often tells you to look out for yourself first, to chase success, to climb higher, to make sure your needs are met before you think of anyone else. But true fulfillment does not come from accumulation, it comes from contribution. Serving others lifts you out of self-centered living and positions you in a stream of purpose that is far bigger than you. Every time you step outside of your own struggles to help someone else in theirs, you shift your perspective and discover strength you didn't know you had. Service changes your vision. When all you see is yourself, your problems grow larger than life. But when you step into someone else's shoes, when you listen to their pain, when you extend your hand to lift them up, suddenly your own challenges shrink in comparison. Serving others is not just about helping them, it's also about shaping you. It humbles you, reminding you that the world does not revolve around your preferences or your struggles. It enlarges you, reminding you that you carry something within that can make a difference in someone else's story. Dedicating yourself to service does not always mean grand gestures. It is not only about charity drives or public acts of generosity. It is about the daily choice to use what you have to bless others where you are. It may be your words, spoken to encourage someone who is ready to give up. It may be your time invested in listening to someone who feels unseen. It may be your resources shared with someone who lacks what you take for granted. Service does not have to be loud to be powerful. Some of the greatest acts of service are quiet, unnoticed by the masses, but deeply impactful in the life of the one who receives it. When you dedicate yourself to serving others, you begin to understand the law of reciprocity. What you sow into the lives of others eventually finds its way back to you, though often in ways you could never predict. A kind word spoken may return as encouragement when you need it most. A helping hand offered may come back as support in your darkest moment. Life has a way of multiplying service. What leaves your hand never leaves your life. It circles back with interest. This is why selfish living always ends empty, while serving living always ends full. Service also unlocks joy. Many people chase happiness in things, achievements, or recognition, only to find it slipping away as soon as they grasp it. But when you dedicate yourself to serving others, joy flows naturally because it is rooted not in what you get, but in what you give. There is a deep satisfaction in knowing that someone's load is lighter because of you, that someone's day is brighter because of you, that someone's hope is alive because of you. That kind of joy cannot be purchased, and it cannot be stolen. It comes only from living beyond yourself. Dedicating yourself to serving others builds legacy. Material possessions fade, titles get forgotten, accomplishments lose their shine. But the impact you leave on people lasts long after you are gone. The words you spoke to lift someone up echo in their mind for years. The kindness you showed may ripple into generations. A single act of service can outlive you, traveling further than you could ever imagine. When people remember you, it will not be for how much you owned, but for how much you gave, not for how high you climbed, but for how many you lifted on your way up. Service is also a test of character. Anyone can talk about kindness, but dedicating yourself to it requires sacrifice. It means putting others before convenience, choosing compassion when indifference would be easier, and giving even when no one is watching. It reveals whether your life is built on selfish ambition or on deeper values. Character is not proven in what you say about yourself, but in what others experience through you. When you dedicate yourself to serving, you are building a reputation that speaks louder than words. Dedication to service transforms communities. When individuals commit to looking out not just for themselves, but for those around them, families are strengthened, neighborhoods are uplifted, and cultures shift. The problems of the world may feel too big for one person to solve, but if each person dedicates themselves to serving in their corner, the ripple effect becomes unstoppable. Great movements are born from ordinary people who simply chose to care, to give, to act. The healing of societies begins when the focus moves from self-preservation to collective elevation. Dedication is the key. Anyone can serve once in a while when it feels convenient or when it looks impressive. But to dedicate yourself to service means making it a way of life, a part of your identity, something so ingrained in you that it flows naturally without needing applause or recognition. It means showing up to serve not because you must, but because you understand that life's greatest calling is not how much you gather, but how much you pour. Demand excellence from yourself. Mediocrity is the default for those who settle, for those who let comfort dictate their choices, for those who believe good enough is sufficient. But when you demand excellence, you set a higher standard that refuses to bow to laziness, excuses, or complacency. Excellence is not about perfection, because perfection is unattainable. But excellence is about giving the best of what you have with the resources you've been given. It is about showing up consistently, sharpening your skills, refining your habits, and refusing to deliver less than what you are capable of. Excellence is not a gift, it is a discipline, a mindset that says, if I put my name on it, it will reflect my highest effort. When you demand excellence from yourself, you stop competing with others and start competing with the version of yourself from yesterday. Comparison drives insecurity, but self-accountability drives growth. Excellence asks the question, how can I be better today than I was yesterday? It challenges you to push past your limits, not because someone else is watching, but because you hold yourself to a standard that will not allow you to settle. Excellence doesn't need an audience. It is practiced in private as much as in public. It is in the unseen effort, the preparation when no one is clapping, the quiet moments of discipline that most people skip. What you do in the dark always shows up in the light, and excellence is formed in those hidden places. Excellence requires sacrifice. It will cost you comfort. It will cost you ease. It will often cost you popularity, because not everyone will understand why you refuse to lower your standards when others are content to settle. Demanding excellence means saying no to shortcuts, no to sloppy work, no to half-hearted attempts. It means working a little longer, practicing a little harder, reviewing one more time, giving that extra ounce of effort when fatigue tells you to stop. Excellence is forged in those moments when you choose discipline over convenience. The road may be harder, but the results will always be greater. Excellence also requires focus. You cannot pour yourself fully into everything, but you can choose where to apply your best energy. Demanding excellence does not mean being perfect in every area of life at once. It means identifying what matters most and giving your highest attention to it. Distraction dilutes excellence. When your energy is scattered across too many things, nothing receives your full potential. Focus sharpens your abilities and allows you to develop mastery. Excellence is not built on dabbling, it is built on devotion. When you demand excellence from yourself, you also raise the standard for those around you. Excellence is contagious. It sets a tone that influences environments, teams, and families. People may resist it at first because it exposes laziness, but over time they begin to elevate because your standard challenges theirs. A culture of excellence begins with one person who refuses to compromise. Your commitment becomes an example, a mirror that shows others what is possible when mediocrity is no longer tolerated. Excellence is not about recognition, but recognition often follows it. Opportunities flow to those who prepare diligently, who execute with care, who treat even small tasks as significant. When you deliver excellence consistently, doors open that remain closed to those who cut corners. People notice quality. They remember those who go beyond the bare minimum. When you demand excellence from yourself, you separate yourself from the crowd, not because you are seeking applause, but because excellence is rare in a world content with average. Excellence is also a form of respect. It is respect for yourself, for the gifts and abilities you've been given, for the opportunities you've been entrusted with. To deliver less than your best is to dishonor what you carry. Excellence says, I value this chance too much to waste it. I value myself too much to present something careless. I value the people I serve too much to offer them anything but my best. That mindset shifts the way you approach everything. Your work, your relationships, your responsibilities. The pursuit of excellence is a lifelong process. There is always another level to reach, another skill to refine, another area to improve. Excellence keeps you from stagnation because it constantly calls you higher. It does not allow you to rest on past achievements or settle into old victories. It challenges you to keep stretching, to keep learning, to keep pushing boundaries. It transforms ordinary moments into opportunities for growth. Even the smallest task becomes significant when approached with an excellent spirit. Excellence is demanding, but it is also rewarding. It builds confidence, because when you know you've given your best, you stand tall regardless of the outcome. It builds resilience, because the process of striving strengthens your character. It builds influence, because people trust those who consistently deliver quality. And it builds legacy, because long after the work is done, the impact of excellence continues to speak. Life does not change by accident, it changes by decision. Every rule we have walked through is not just a principle to admire, but a practice to apply. When you decide who's in charge, you take back authority from fear, emotions, and outside voices that have dictated your path for far too long. When you discipline your mind, you begin to understand that your greatest victories will not come from external circumstances, but from internal clarity. When you develop daily habits, you recognize that greatness is not hidden in single moments of inspiration, but in the repetition of actions that slowly, steadily shape the person you are becoming. When you detach from distractions, you confront the silent thieves that rob you of your focus and make a choice to protect your energy for what truly matters. When you dedicate yourself to serving others, you step into a higher way of living where joy and purpose flow not from what you receive, but from what you give. And when you demand excellence from yourself, you refuse to settle for mediocrity and instead choose to live at a standard that elevates not only your own life, but the lives of those around you. These rules are not isolated, they are connected, woven together like threads in a tapestry. Authority without discipline will crumble. Discipline without daily habits will fade. Habits without detachment from distractions will weaken. Focus without service will become selfish. Service without excellence will lose its power. Excellence without authority will lack direction. Every rule supports the other, and together they form a complete framework for transformation. If you commit to all of them, You give yourself the best chance to experience the kind of change that does not just shift how you feel temporarily, but reshapes the very course of your future. The truth is, 7 days can set the tone for 70 years. In 1 week of living with intentionality, you can establish momentum that carries you further than you ever imagined. A single decision to take back control of your life, to discipline your thoughts, to reorder your habits, to silence your distractions, to lift others, and to demand excellence can ignite a fire that keeps burning long after the week is over. Change is not about waiting for the perfect conditions. Change is about seizing the present moment with urgency and determination. You do not need to have everything figured out before you start. You simply need to start. So the challenge is before you. Will you continue living as you always have, allowing outside forces to steer you, wasting precious hours on meaningless pursuits, settling for mediocrity, waiting for change to somehow arrive on its own? Or will you rise up and decide today to live differently? The difference between who you are and who you could be lies in the choices you make in the coming days. The same 7 days will pass whether you remain the same or whether you commit to transformation. The only question is what story you will be able to tell at the end of them. Imagine what your life could look like if you put these rules into practice for just 1 week. Imagine the clarity of waking up each day knowing you are in control. Imagine the strength of a disciplined mind no longer tormented by negativity. Imagine the progress born from consistent daily habits. Imagine the freedom of cutting off distractions that have drained you for years. Imagine the joy of seeing someone else lifted because of your service. Imagine the pride of presenting work, choices, and character shaped by excellence. That is not a fantasy. It is within your reach, but only if you are willing to act. The time for excuses has passed. The time for waiting has ended. The opportunity is now. 7 days is not a long time, but it is long enough to change everything when lived with intention. If you take these rules seriously and apply them with consistency, your life will no longer move in circles, but in the direction of growth, strength, purpose, and power. The choice is yours to make, and the responsibility is yours to carry. So let this be the moment you draw the line in the sand. Let this be the moment you stop drifting and start driving. Let this be the moment you stop wishing and start working. Change is not distant. Change is not unreachable. Change begins right here, right now, with the decision to embrace these 5 rules and live them out boldly. 7 days from now, you will look back not with regret, but with gratitude that you dared to believe, dared to act, and dared to change. 7 days from now, your life can look different. Your mindset can feel stronger. Your habits can be sharper. Your vision can be clearer. Your impact can be deeper. Your standard can be higher. 7 days from now, you can stand at the beginning of a brand new chapter because you chose not to wait for change, but to create it. And when you do, you will not just see a difference. You will be the difference.